I'm Tom Benner. I am a member of...
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. I'm Tom Benner, and I am a member of the Mile High Exchangors in Denver, and I have been there a long time, way too long actually, and I've been a member of this group for a long time, and in fact, I was president about 10 years ago during the crash, you might say.
Oh, you're the one that caused it.
Yes,
Yes.
right, that's right, I'm the one that caused it. Anyway, we're going to talk about, first of all, is there anyone here who has never attended? Good, okay. And is it fair to say that you people who have never attended are in commercial real estate or residential or both, or what? Go ahead.
I'm in both.
You're both, okay. Ma'am? I can't hear you.
Mainly commercial.
Okay, all right. We're going to tell you, sort of, show you how the way we do business here in this group is different from the normal brokerage. I'll give you an example. I'm being asked by Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we'll call them, to list a property. It was listed before and it never sold. And it was listed for $500,000. And I'm having a conversation with Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and my first question would be, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Can you tell me why the property didn't sell? Well, the guy put a sign in front, he had it advertised and everything, but for some reason, we don't think he did a very good job anyway, and for some reason, it didn't sell. Okay. Now, let me ask you that, or tell you that we operate differently in that we involve you, the seller, in the transaction. And to do that, I need to ask you some personal questions. Would you have any objection me asking you some personal questions? And by the way, brokers are taught all over the country that that is irrelevant. You are told you are not to disclose people's motivation, right? You are told that's irrelevant, here's the property, here are the terms, take it or leave it. That's in essence what a broker does, other than market the property. The seller is never really involved. So we have the seller sign a special addendum to the listing contract, giving you permission to disclose everything about them that you will learn about them within the confines of this group and within the confines of the local exchange group. So they sign it and they say, right. How much do you owe against this property, Mr. Smith? I owe $200,000. The listing is for $500,000, right? Okay. Do you owe any money? Yeah, we owe $200,000. Do you have the loan documents here by any chance? Or do you have a copy of the mortgage or the deed of trust and the note? Why do you want to know that? Well, I want to see who this is, and it'll become apparent later. Can someone assume that loan? Well, I don't know. It says here that it is due on sale. All right. And who is this loan to? Well, this was actually a loan from the seller 10 years ago when we purchased the property. His name is Dr. Joe, we'll call him. May I call Dr. Joe? Do I have your permission to call him? Yeah. What do you want to do that for? Well, I have some ideas. I'm calling Dr. Joe. Dr. Joe, I notice this is a 6% mortgage. Are you happy with your mortgage? Yeah. Frankly, I wish they wouldn't pay it off because I like 6% and it's in my retirement plan. And there's nowhere else where I can get 6%. Okay. If and when we sell this property, would you be willing to add more money? In other words, would you be willing to lend more money against this property? Like another $200,000, so it'll be a $400,000 mortgage? Oh, I never thought about that. Actually, I like that. I said, I could probably guarantee you 6%. But if you like the new purchaser and everything is to your satisfaction, we now have a property that has a purchase price or an asking price of $500,000, only requires $100,000 down without bank qualifying. You know, we've just asked one stupid question and one went a little further than most people would. I'm in the loan business, and I developed my loan business that way, and I would go a step further with Dr. Bob, whatever I call him, and say, do you have more money? Would you like to lend money on more properties, on some other deals? He said, well, you know, I've never thought about it, but I'm getting tired of getting 1% or 2%. That is, by the way, a golden opportunity in today's world where interest rates are so ridiculously low and people are constantly searching for yield. What a hell of an easy way to finance properties and such, and to develop a stable of Dr. Joe's. You don't have to ask too many questions, and you're going to have a stable this long. I'm telling you. Anyway, we're now going to market the property. But before we do that, we're going to ask some more questions. Why are you guys selling? What are you going to do with the money? May I ask? Well, we don't really know. We're hoping, we're moving to Arizona, and this will help us in our retirement. Okay. Have you considered the tax consequences of what you're doing? Well, we talked to our accountant. He's kind of scaring us, and we don't really know. We may owe as much as $75,000. Okay. Are you prepared to pay that if necessary? Yeah, we really don't want you. So what are you going to do with the money when I sell the property? Well, I guess we're going to stick it in the bank. Do you own a house in Arizona yet? No, our daughter lives there, and we don't quite know what we're going to do. Okay. Do you get the picture? I keep asking, and I keep asking. Most people are squeamish. Most brokers don't want to go that far with strangers, you know. They say, well, I got the listing, and they say they'll trade, whatever that means. And they go to a marketing meeting. Or they put it on LoopNet or wherever. And now that they have seller financing available and that they have some form of knowledge about these people, we can go a step further. Say, you know, if you were to sell this property on credit yourself, you could defer your taxes for a while, depending on how long the loan is. Oh, how does that work? And you explain all that. Most people who will stand up on the podium today, or tomorrow rather, they stumble when we ask them these questions. It is an art that you have to develop. Have you ever asked questions like that of yourself? I forgot your name, I'm sorry.
I'm Rob.
Hi, Rob. Have you ever asked all kinds of questions like that of yourself?
I ask a lot of things of myself.
You asked a lot of things, what?
I ask a lot of questions myself, especially when shaving.
Good for you. Okay, okay. It is a acquired habit, you know. I remember a long time ago when my kids were teenagers, my daughters were teenagers, and they would bring boys home. And my daughters would be squirming because I asked too many questions. If you ask permission and you tell the people why, there really is no reason why you shouldn't be willing to do that. Are there any questions at this stage, please?
I have a question for
Okay.
you, Tom. And I think and this is for a lot of young people that maybe aren't comfortable asking those kinds of questions
Correct.
of their
Why don't
clients.
you grab a microphone when you ask?
Thank you, Blake. So this question is really to help those who are very uncomfortable asking the uncomfortable
Yes,
questions. Because
correct.
you really have to get comfortable with that.
Correct.
So perhaps maybe you can share with your experience what allows you to become comfortable asking the uncomfortable questions
Right.
that can maybe help them ask those uncomfortable
Well,
questions.
I have, of course, the benefit of being old.
Yeah.
That really helps.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And if you are much younger and you ask some 60-year-old how much he's got in the bank, that is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You need to set the stage. And you need to explain what you're going to do and how you're going to share this information, if needed, with a group of professionals who have come from all over the country to discuss these issues and to find a solution to his challenge, if you will. I don't want to use the word problem because it's not really a problem he's got. Yes, Brian?
Yeah, normally when I ask somebody of that realm, it's we do things a little bit differently, and I belong to a different group that specializes in these types of challenges. Is this something you would allow me to ask you a few questions
Right.
to help guide you down that path? So I
Right, you need
ask
to set the
permission for-
stage.
yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Any other questions? Yes, Chuck?
In my career, I have found that when you set the stage and you ask the question respectfully and tell them what you're going to do, that they're amazed because they have never thought of that stuff. And
Correct.
I've had sellers say, wow, nobody has ever asked me those questions. That is great. And you just open their mind to things
Yes.
that they have never thought about.
That would be the ideal scenario.
And
That's
they will
right.
help you after that.
Right, absolutely. Yes.
Another way I heard it years ago is that how many here go into the doctor's office and immediately take off your clothes?
Right. It's the
Pretty
same
much.
thing.
It's exactly the same thing. Now think about that. A strange man you'd never met before and you're taking off your clothes. And yeah, the hardest part is,
Taking off your socks.
yeah, the hardest part, yeah, that's it. For you and me today, that's for sure. The hardest part is for the broker to understand how they get to that position with the client,
Right.
you know?
That's right.
And you're just basically taking off their financial clothes
Right.
one step at a time.
And in fact, they aren't even your client yet until you decided to work with them after you received all the answer to all these questions. Because it's for you to decide if you want to deal with these people. You know, sometimes you will get a potential seller or potential client who says, you know, I'm uncomfortable telling you this. I say, you know, I'm uncomfortable dealing with you, in effect.
Right.
I cannot represent you unless I know the whole story. Your property didn't sell last time because it was marketed in a conventional manner, and now it is. I'm trying to do something different and unique. And counseling, what everybody talks about, you can't counsel unless you know the facts. Okay, Blake is going to continue. Where's Blake?
I guess we're done.
Yeah, I guess we're done with this. Yeah, right. Keep going.
There you go. Can you guys hear me all right? Okay, so Tom was supposed to wait till at least to a slide or two in before he starts talking, but that's all right. Today, our purpose of talking to you today is to sort of a substitute for our basic class that we don't offer in the summer and January meetings. This is to get all of you who are new to the group and those of you who have been here a long time comfortable with each other, the new people to be comfortable with the process and the rest, and really to open up the dialogue so the more experienced people can share with the newer people. I shouldn't say younger, it's all relative. The newer people, because that's what we want to do. You have a lot of mentors in this room already who are going to answer questions for you. Feel free to reach out. A certain number of people in here have quite a bit of experience. More people are new and just learning in the group right now. Equity Marketing Basics is what we've decided to name this short course, just 3-hour course, nothing comprehensive. AKA ask questions, because as you've seen with Tom and when he does his seller carry financing, we have a 1031 paper channel on YouTube that has his longer class, but Tom's all about asking the questions, and that is the way to get answers. First step in any real estate endeavor is to ask questions. This is what Tom started you with right there. And whenever you run into a client, we call them client applicant because they're not a client yet. You haven't decided that you're going to serve them yet. You have to ask them questions to help decide whether or not you really want to serve them. Okay, basics. Counseling. The two basic things of equity marketing are counseling and formulas. Okay, and these are some of the things that, besides all the regular stuff we do as buy-sell real estate brokers, the counseling and formulas are what sort of distinguish Exchangors from everybody else. Counseling is asking questions, listening, and doing your best to understand your client. Formulas are methods of delivering benefits through real estate transactions. These are the basics of the equity marketing, of how we do and what the difference between what we do and everybody else. Okay, so today's discussion will be, this is the format, the outline for today's course. We're going to go to noon talking about this, and then in the afternoon, Steve Streetman will be teaching us about cryptocurrency and real estate. Part of why we had this course, because if you've come to NCE for the first time and the only course you had was cryptocurrency and real estate, you may kind of not get the regular picture of what we do all the time. So in order to do your marketing here at NCE, we ask questions, okay? Tom's gone over that. We get the information, okay, and the listing, of course, okay? We go here and we place our order, we identify the takers, we ask more questions, we apply the formulas, and we close more deals this way, okay? That's filling the order. I'll go through what each of these mean as we go through. Okay, disclosure, I like this slide. All of what we're talking about is real estate held for investment. These formulas do not apply to owner-occupied housing, okay? So your regular residential thing. We're not attorneys or tax experts, and you really shouldn't listen to us at all about anything, and we take no responsibility for your further actions. Yeah, future actions. If you guys do something in the future, it's not my fault or Tom's fault. It's your fault. Okay. Before the meeting, okay, what's essential? And if you're here and you don't have a listing with the motivations, right to disclose the motivations, that's okay. This is your first meeting, okay? We're not going to disclose, you're probably not going to be able to disclose some of the things without getting with your clients and saying, hey, can I answer these questions? But we want you to know what you should do before the meeting so that next meeting you're prepared. You ask the questions and you get the information and you get the listing, you get the rest of the stuff. You put together the package, we'll go over that. During the meeting, you're going to place your order. You're going to stand up here at this very podium and you're going to tell people out here what you want for what you've got, okay? You're going to identify who might take it. That's when the questions really begin. We apply the formulas, and after the meeting, we're going to close more deals. And I've closed deals with a lot of people in this room, and we do close a lot more deals than I'd say your average real estate community. Okay, counseling before the meetings. Really get to know your client, all right? During the meeting, we have a moderator. You're going to present at the podium and the moderator is going to ask you questions, all right? You're only going to have a few minutes to get out all this information. So it's good for you in your head to know what's the most important salient facts that you want to put out as far as facts, and also how to express what it really is that this client is looking for. Who is this client and where are they going? A lot of times, the age of the client is important. Normally we think demographics and things aren't necessarily appropriate to talk about in real estate. They're absolutely appropriate to talk about in this context. Because someone who looks like that, okay? And then someone who looks like one of these young people have a lot of offsetting benefits, okay? Tom doesn't want to go into a new piece of real estate, but he'd like to lend you money and earn interest, okay? If you want to buy real estate, here's your guy, okay? And that's how the offsetting benefits. The goal of the moderator is to make the presentation the best that it can be, to focus on the benefits offered by the property and its ownership, and to identify takers. Some properties are great, everybody in the world wants them. Some properties aren't great, and people don't just want them just by putting them up here. It's our job to make it the best package possible and to give it the best chance, okay? And as we go through some of this, you'll see what the inventory is. The benefits that we think of in traditional commercial real estate of cap rates and internal rate of return and all those are some benefits. Appreciation, depreciation, all that stuff that we're used to. But generally, we have a lot of intangible benefits. Those sets of benefits don't explain why Tom might not want a property that I want, okay? It's gonna be the same property. We have different stages of life, different sets of benefits. This is exactly what Tom was talking about. Some clients are easier to counsel than others, right? Some can't be counseled. Don't work with them. Your services are better than most of your fellow licensees. Your services are not available to those people. That's just the way that it is. Don't work with them. Don't, you're too busy. You got another one. There's someone else who needs you. You're a public servant, okay? If they're a jerk, they don't need to be served. Okay, this is getting to what Hal was talking about. A doctor asks questions of the patient, okay? If you lie to your doctor, how smart is that, okay? You're the doctor for these clients. If they lie to you, you ain't gonna cure them. You might kill them, right? The same thing happened with the doctor. You tell some doctor something wrong, he might give you a medicine that kills you. He didn't mean to. It was based on false information. Why would our clients expose themselves like this? Why would they be willing to tell us to take off their financial clothes? And the answer is, when Ted Blank's the one who I learned it from, it's the doctor example that Hal just said. When a man our age walks into a room, takes all his clothes off, lies down on the table, and knows what's coming, why would he ever do that? No circumstance in the world does that happen, except the doctor has a white coat on. He's a professional. We all know that he's gonna take care of us. He's not, there's no nefarious purposes. That's the kind of professionalism you want to seek in order to get your clients to share this information, okay? If they don't think you're a person that is worthy, they don't see you like your pediatrician or your physician, you know, they're not, you're just wasting your time. So get the level of professionalism, get an understanding or rapport, like Chuck's saying, with them, so that they're comfortable taking their clothes off. And that's as far as we need to go with that.
There used to be a member of the Exchangors a million years ago who went a step further. You know, we've become more relaxed in our clothing, for instance. He would say to potential customers, because that's all they were, customers, he would force them to come to his office. And just like an attorney, he would say, when do you people come to my office to discuss your situation, rather than him going with his little briefcase up to their property when it's convenient for them to see you. Turn it around.
And let me tell you, I just recently made the same mistake, as you know, that with a client recently I had to fire because they, and I did make the mistake because of their prestige in the community or whatever, to actually go over to their house, and that's always a mistake, okay? Have them come to your office. Don't go to their house to do the listing or the property to do the listing. You have them come to your office, interview them, decide whether or not you want to work with them, irregardless of anything to do with their property. And then, if you've decided that you can work together, then we start to talk about the property.
Most people now work out of, many people work out of their home, from home and all that, and that is fine. There are services out there where you can rent offices that are very inexpensive.
What Bob Steele said, what I found very good is, most of our towns have a luxury hotel. Most of those towns have a 4-star nice hotel with a really nice lobby. They really don't mind business people sitting in their lobby talking business, okay? You just set an appointment with that client. If you don't have a really nice Class A office that's gonna blow their boots off, you go have them, Colorado Springs, we go meet them at the Broadmoor, okay? You sit them down, they're in this wealthy, affluent environment. We're in the, we have the right environment, we're thinking the right direction with that, but you're the professional, you interview them, okay? What I say with, for just house listings, people say, oh, want me to come over and tell them how much their house is worth? So I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna tell you what I think your house is worth until you're a client. Because if I might have a buyer in this market interested in your house, and you don't take me as a listing agent, what did I do to that client, that buyer? I told you what I think your house is worth. Okay, I heard this potential buyer that I haven't even met yet. Okay, so, and the other thing I tell them, and this, we have to be careful how we say it. I say, if you're considering other brokers to come and do the same thing, please take them. Because if they're good enough for you, if that's all you need, please take them. And the thing you're not supposed to say, and it's really hard to buy things, they probably need the business more than I do. Okay? We're not allowed to say that. But that is, that's the implication, is that there are, if someone wants to sell a house, there's everybody out there who can do it.
Well,
Okay?
can I also,
Yeah.
to what Blake is saying, by creating a barrier or a boundary and not just chasing a client, right? You're eradicating.
Chasing a customer.
Yeah, well, chasing a prospect.
That's right.
They're a prospect. And it really, you're creating a status also, which is also going to create a wanting by the prospect, right? And it's a better way of doing things, because by interviewing them, it's going to set you apart from all of the other realtors that are just going to bark at every beck and call of a potential client, which is going to give them the control, the client, the prospect.
Absolutely.
And on top of that, you're going to really save your time, which is our most valuable thing. And like what Blake was saying, you don't give them your opinion on value unless you come to the conclusion that you're going to work with them, because we're in the business of information and relationships.
Right. Only when you're gonna put the price, when they're signing the listing agreement, we have to put a price on it. That's when we actually get to the point where we talk about price. One thing that reminded me of Demetrius said, and again, we're getting a little off track, but that's why we have these slides to help keep us going. But there's a human phenomenon my dad pointed out to me a long time ago. People like to give money to those who don't need it. It's just what we are as people. We can't explain it. It's terrible. It's a pathetic human trait. We all want to give money to people who don't need it. Okay, the rich guy, can he buy a drink? Usually not. Okay, it's people buy the drink for him. Elon Musk walks in here. Is he going to pay for any liquor? You're not going to pay for any liquor. You're going to buy him a drink. You don't need a drink. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. When you go to the nice hotel, or you have them come to your nice office, or you sit down with them and all, if you're hungry, and you can see the hunger in your eyes, it's really hard to be as successful as you want to be. If you're hungry, you got to hide it. You got to put on airs.
It's the neediness. What happens is people want to run away from that which chases them.
Right.
So let's
Like
switch gears back again. Let's talk
Like
about
dating.
why people do things. Okay, and this is so. Most of our listing agreements, we're not allowed to talk about motivations. We need to have other clauses in there that say we're allowed to discuss your motivations, including the right to your willingness to sell the price for less than the full price in the context of equity marketing meetings for the sole purpose of getting a beneficial transaction, not to go slander the people and to go talk all around town. Okay, so that's just beside there. Say, what drives the market? Motivations drive the market. Like we said, we've never seen a property get up and sign a deed or a deed of trust. It's people who do it. And people do things because they're motivated to do things. You ask personal questions. This is what Tom's talking about when we talk about the doctor thing, okay? You ask the questions that are uncomfortable. Why will they answer them? Because you're a professional. This is, part of it's before, but then once you have signed that listing agreement, you really get into that. We can't discuss them without permission, obtain permission to disclose your client's motivations. Discussing benefits sought and motivations leads to more benefits offered, okay? Do you understand what we're talking about there? If a person, an example we're gonna get to later with Chuck, you got a piece of land that's a paper subdivision, You know, what are the benefits in it? Not a lot of benefits in a paper subdivision, okay? Maybe if you can build it all up, finish it out, sell houses, there are benefits. If you're not a developer, there aren't. But why are you doing it? And what else can you do? And what's your motivation? How much will you add to it in order to make a deal happen? So you may decide that actually that paper subdivision is what you need when you come to this marketing session, even though nobody needs it. Because what you need is a sack of cash. And it's much more likely a sack of cash comes with a paper subdivision than a sack of cash comes with a, 8-cap triple net Walgreens. Okay, you're not gonna get a sack of cash with it. Okay, do your job, okay? Get information, do your job. You still need to do the job of every broker. Assemble marketing materials, plant a sign, put your religious icons out there and pray if that's what you do. Advertise. We owe it to everybody to turn them all to cash if cash is available. Cash is easy. Cash helps the flow of capital from one person to another. Cash was invented for a reason, even though it has no intrinsic value. We do not just trade to trade. It's all about trading for a better set of benefits, whatever the vehicle. The vehicle can be cash, okay? Selling things for cash is a formula. The person found this pile of $100 bills more beneficial than the deed to this property. The other person found the deed to this property more beneficial than that pile of $100 bills. Why? Because they're different. They're different people, okay? Now it's back to my buddy here. We got questions to ask.
Well, let me first tell you how I learned.
We got questions too.
Oh,
Prompt you.
All right. Why do you want to sell? Well, you're going to get a variety of answers, right? And some surprising answers. And it's a question that is a normal question. But for some reason, half the people who list property don't even ask that. Many moons ago, back in the Stone Age, actually before the Stone Age, my first job, I was a 20-year-old management trainee for a small loan company. Just before the internet, before credit bureaus, before any of this. And we had to make loans to these people. So we had an office on the second floor somewhere above a shopping center. And people would sneak up on their lunch hour, step up the steps, so no one would see them, because borrowing money was kind of not thought well of. And they would face me, 20-year-old kid. And I had to ask all the questions and decide and recommend to make this loan. Well, when you have no information to call on, you have no credit bureau, nothing, you start asking the real questions. Mr. Jones, you're 45 years old and you're married to this 29-year-old. How many times were you married before? These were all personal, really asked personal questions. And of course it was easier because they came to borrow money. Well, I was married once before. I see, how much did you owe in child support? You ask these specific questions that they aren't thinking about. And he would say, well, how much is your child support? And we went on and on and on and on. They are questions that today, you wouldn't ask. But that's how I started. That was my early training. Anyway, what is our next issue here? What will you do with the money? That is a normal question, right? May I ask what you're going to do with this money when I sell this property? When this property is sold, you're going to get $300,000. What are you going to do with it? You're going to pay the IRS first. We've already discussed this. You're going to owe $75,000. That's what your CPA told me, because you had asked me, or I had asked you for the name of your accountant. And I had permission from you to talk to the accountant. Well, we don't really know yet. You're going to get some form of answer, and well, why do you want that money? we're going to retire, and we're going to live off that money because we think we can live fairly modestly. We think we can find a cheap place there in Mesa, Arizona, and we want to live out of it. But you're not going to get any interest. Have you thought about that? You can develop either a lender for something, or they could become a lender on their own property, or you could then bring up the idea of exchanging for something else without tax consequences perhaps, and creating an income somewhere, somehow. Not all that difficult. And, well, it says information leads to deals. Well, once you ask all these questions, you'll be talking to several people, right? To the CPA, to maybe their attorney, the mortgage holder, the doctor, what's his name? That is very, very helpful to you. And that is the way to prospect for new customers at the same time, right? I mean, come on. You don't really need to call strangers. There are already people who know what you're doing. If you call this Dr. P who holds the mortgage, what does he think of you? He thinks, oh, this guy's pretty slick, you know? Dr. P, do you own any property? And on and on and on. There's never an end to it. What do you think, partner?
I agree. No, for sure. And the other one, you skip those, the who are they and where are they going? Okay, so each person is, people are really unique in different stages of your life, and really figuring that out is a big part of it. One question I ask people a lot, and it's a pretty strange thing sometimes to ask people. I do it the same when I interview students for Columbia University sometimes. It's a way to get things that they don't often volunteer in front. And, I'll tell them, so you know, we'll have a conversation. Here's this real estate guy got you sitting on the couch, you know, counsel and stuff. And I say, tell me about your parents.
Yeah.
Okay? Listen to someone describe their mom and their dad, their situation that they grew up with. By the time they're done with that conversation, in half an hour, 45 minutes later, you really know that person. Okay, because we're products of our parents. Okay, we're a combination of your parents. I ask, tell me about your parents. What am I asking you to tell me about?
One of the easiest ways to get them to talk about themselves is to tell them something intimate about yourself.
Right.
Some snippet, like I like to tell people who are in financial difficulty. You know, when I filed bankruptcy in 1989, blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, it's true. And secondly, it really is an intimate revelation that I look to be successful and blah, 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 I have all this going. But the fact is, I was in your position, I was bankrupt in 1989.
Yep.
That'll open up all kinds of information that they will tell you, because you've told them something about yourself that is not
Made it personal.
You start to undress yourself so they feel comfortable to undress them.
That's right.
Right, so yeah, by making it personal, letting them know you're who you are. And then the other thing is when you sign a listing agreement with somebody, and this is just my own soapbox a lot of times, we're public servants, okay? It's not a privilege to go have somebody sign a listing agreement. It's an obligation, it's a duty to do a job. And when they get that dynamic, that we're not anxious to go sign up to do a really hard job, but we'll do a really hard job if we're compensated and if they cooperate, it just changes the whole dynamic. And again, like I say, when you're sitting there on the couch, if they're not cooperative, if they're not someone to be counseled, there's the door, okay? And you just let them know that, you need me a lot more than I need you. Now again, temper it, you don't need to go broke. All right, when we get to the meeting, okay, now you've gotten all the information, you've collected stuff, you put your listing together, you got it advertised out there on every electronic thing, you put in the NCE book, you're bringing your package to the meeting, okay? Jason Dillard, a great exchanger from South Carolina, says everyone presenting at a market session is really just placing an order on behalf of their client. It's like you walked up to McDonald's and said, give me a burger, here's what I got. Will you get it? Okay? What are the benefits sought? What do they want, a burger? What are they offering? Money, okay? You want to identify what it is that you're offering and what it is you want. Without asking questions and without assembling the information, a rhetorical question, how can you possibly do this?
And to reiterate, if you're new and you brought a package and you know that you don't know all the questions that we're sort of encouraging to ask, don't be embarrassed.
No.
We won't embarrass you. This will be a good learning experience for the next time you'll come back better prepared.
And that is why all the meetings are confidential, okay? We can record this class, we're not gonna be recording the meeting, okay? If something about a motivation were to slip out in the conversation, nobody's gonna jump and make sure that, they call the regulatory agency and punish you, okay? The whole benefit we're trying to do is help your client. And so you do the best you can with what you've got, and if you need to say, I can't talk about that now, that's okay. That's a perfectly legitimate answer. Follow up with that when you know you can talk about that. Like a divorce is a classic situation, okay? If it's a situation where you're not to tell about the divorce in a traditional sales thing, and you haven't talked to them about it, that's a tough one here to bring up. But here, that's what we specialize in, okay? We know if there's a divorce, we can probably make a deal. And it's not because we are a bunch of vultures who think now the price of the property went to half. No, it's we know we have two really motivated people, right? They want nothing in the world other than to be away from that other person, okay? And so those are motivations and about benefits. So know your stuff, okay? It used to be, and this is what happens in smaller groups a lot of times, people put the black hat on. So we have black hatters or white hatters, or the guy with the white hat says really positive things, the black hat from the movies tells you, asks you all these tough questions that, try and sink your ship. Well, that's not what we're trying to do. Know your stuff, respect for the room. If you don't know it, it's okay. I don't know is a perfectly legitimate answer. All righty? Okay. Packages, and feel free to interrupt anytime you want. Packages, why we call them packages instead of property listings, is a package is a set of benefits. A package involves not just the property, but also the people and what else they can do, okay? Make sure you understand each part of the package form, including benefits offered, which I emphasize a little more. Know how to input into the system, okay? If any of you don't know how to put your package into the system, I'm not gonna sidetrack and show everybody how to do it right here. Let us know. We will go either with Kara or any of the rest of us. Asher can help you, Demetrius, any of the rest of us can help you. We want to make sure if you've got a listing that should be in the book, a package that should be in the book, we want to make sure it's in the book, or in the system at least, so that we can identify it and the rest of us can go out and find it. Even if you just have, this is what it is, here's the address, a couple things, a little bit gets it started. Provide as much info as you can, okay? If you can't, you can't. You must have a listing or control. Please don't bring a listing here or make a package or even talk about it if you just heard that your buddy wants you to bring this package to the meeting. I know it happens all the time, not appropriate, okay? Present the people an opportunity as well as the property, but mostly the benefits, why somebody wants to own this. Mr. Streetman.
So Blake, when you say benefits,
Yes.
right? I think a lot of people get confused about who the benefits are for, and which
Okay.
benefits and what are benefits versus desires.
Okay, so Steve's asking, saying, when I talk about benefits, some people may wonder who the benefits are for, who's delivering them, who's receiving them, and the answer is sort of an all of the above, okay? We have to present, no transaction will ever close unless both parties think that they're getting a better set of benefits afterwards than they had before. Our job is to identify how wonderful these sets of benefits are, okay?
And in today's climate, and I mean low interest climate, and I'm always more, I lean towards the financial of the deal, that's my nature. When you receive cash, I know, what are you going to do with it? It is better to have a house even today, in today's fast appreciating market, than just having cash. And that didn't used to always be the case, right? Not all that many years ago, it says, give me cash, man, I need it.
They didn't used to print cash like they have recently.
Right.
When you print a lot of cash, people buy land. Sold more land since they started printing cash than I've ever sold in my life, okay? That's what happens. We're in a weird environment. Never been so much money in the market in any of our lives. You ever know so much money?
I've never seen anything like this, although close to it.
Yeah.
It's different. And nobody here knows the future. Nobody. Not even Blake.
I know it's uncertain.
Right, there you go, right.
So,
So
and
things
we all,
are different.
yeah, we all want to think about that. So this gets back to another thing my dad always told me: all the skill and airmanship in the world don't beat dumb luck. Okay, the market is dumb luck. Okay, the things I've owned in Colorado Springs that I bought in 2006, every one of them that I've sold in 2021 tripled in value. Okay, not anything to do with my intelligence. Got nothing to do with me. Okay. It's dumb luck. In Colorado Springs, things tripled in value in the last 15 years. That's just the way that it is. Okay, so you want to set up so that you ride that dumb luck just fine, but you can't control that. And so just don't, like I say, don't pat yourself on the back and what a genius you are, because, you know, if you're doing that, you ought to be kicking yourself when the market goes down, and don't do that either. So
I used to be a real estate genius.
yeah, and then the market crashed.
Yeah.
Correct.
89 taught you.
And that's why I was saying, it's
81, yeah, right, and all that, 89.
Right.
I once, in 1977, I bought 40 houses. And suddenly they all went up. And I thought I was an absolute genius.
And then 1989, you
It
felt
took
like-
10 years to work my way out of it, right? Right.
Then you became.
And that will come again. Those times somehow, some way will come back.
Yeah, it's not.
We need to
there will
be
a
prepared
time
for that.
when the market corrects 50% again.
And those will be better times for people in the exchange group.
Absolutely. Your clients are gonna need a lot of help then. You're a public servant. You're gonna be so much better to serve them when the market stinks than when it's great like this. Anyway, back to the slides. Be prepared to provide backup information, okay? This is due diligence stuff. You can provide everything you can now, but if you don't, you say, hey, that's due diligence stuff, it can be due diligence stuff. Just know that we don't just mysteriously trust that there's nothing wrong with the property, and we don't suddenly throw out all that stuff we have done with real estate always when we go look at something we're buying from a stranger, okay? You still do the same things as you would then. Bottom line, I say, bring your paper from the book with you when you come to the podium, and bring an ink pen, okay? So that you can write the numbers that are yelled out to you on the your piece of paper that goes back in your notebook with your scribblings on it, because then it'll give a recollection of the experience and also helps you keep track of all of your numbers. So I'll get into the numbers for people who aren't familiar with that yet as far as what we do.
Did you start, or the canons? Here we go.
Canons, yeah. You want to talk
I,
about
in my
canons?
little talk, did not talk about, I did not ask the customer, well, they weren't clients yet, what else they owned. And it's a magic question. And in a little bit, I'll discuss that further when I tell you about the deal I did with Blake a couple years ago.
Right, so yeah, absolutely, what else do you own is a huge thing, okay? Just like the question about inheritance, okay? They may have you helping them with a little triplex in a bad part of town, and you're working with it. If there's somebody who that's their only asset, and that's just, they sweated it, and this is their couple $100,000 they got in the world, that's a different person than the guy who also owns the $10 million shopping center at the end of the block, okay? Just different people, not saying one's better than the other, it's just different ways you're gonna deal with them, okay? And it's important. So the can-outs, this is other things people can throw into a deal to get you to take it, okay? I have my, I'm reluctant to use my dog poo story because of my bad language, but basically I tell people a lot of times, if I got a bag full of something that nobody wants, a bag of dog poo, and I go and I say, hey Chuck, you want it? They'll say, no, I don't want that. Why would I want that? It's a bag of dog poo, I have to throw it away. So shoot, okay, well, how about if I just reach in my pocket and get a $50 bill out and I stick a piece of scotch tape to it and I stick to that bag, set that bag down, now do you want it? Chuck says, heck yeah, I'll get paid $50 to take that bag to the trash. Okay, that's a can ad. $50 can ad to a bag of dog food. Anyone will take it, okay, because of the $50 bill. Got nothing to do with the bag of dog food, you'll just throw it away. Okay, can ads a lot of times drive the deal. Jim Wilson likes to talk about the difference between can ads and will ads. The guy who owns a $10 million free and clear shopping center, he can ad it, but he won't. Okay, if it's a can ad, but it ain't a will ad, you say, this is what they have, they're probably not gonna add it, okay? But it is still good for us all to know the horsepower of the people. A must take is a can ad that you gotta take, okay? Or a primary package, okay? The bag of dog food. I'm not going to give you that $50 bill unless you must take the bag of dog food, because I don't want to have it here, I want to take it out to the street, okay? So you must take it to get the $50 bill, okay? That's pretty straightforward. Anything else you want to say about must take?
No, that's fine. That's
Sometimes the will ad can drive the deal, okay? There's cash always makes a great can ad. There are always people, even though it's a depreciating asset, nobody should ever want it. 4-letter word, they still, you put it with your package and miraculously it goes. That's a lemonade formula. So you take lemons, you add a little sweetener to it. Everyone will drink some lemonade. Not most people will drink squeezed lemon juice. You can always create paper. When we say paper, we're talking about notes, deeds, and trusts, mortgages, leases, any kind of instrument that requires a person to pay money to another person.
maybe this is a good time for me to tell them about our deal.
Okay, well, let's go to the next, because I have a feeling that's next. Okay, I'm going through our little outline of what we're doing now. We're identify takers. This is the primary function of why we are here. Identify someone who will take your property under any terms and conditions, okay? Who will take my property? I didn't say give me my price. I didn't say give me what I want, okay? Who is a taker for the property with something, okay? Who can find a way to take it under some terms and conditions, okay? The bag of dog food example, you'll take it if it comes with $50. Everyone in the room, okay? This is what I tell people, say, why'd you lie to me when you tell me you didn't want it? Everyone in this room is a taker for that bag of dog food, okay? Because of the $50 bill, right? When we go up and I present just the bag of dog food without the $50 bill, a few people will give me their numbers. Those are the people who know it's gotta come with a $50 bill. Everybody, when I come up with a bag of dog food, packaged with no benefits, everybody in the room should pitch out their number. Because I'm gonna have to give you something to get you to take it, right? And so it's not about that, it's about Canada, an example. Anyhow, find a way to take the property under some terms and conditions. We should not care what they're takers with or why. This is the biggest problem in this room. The first step is to find a taker. You get a guy up here at the podium or a gal up here at the podium, and sometimes we're not supposed to do what you take, but someone says, oh, what's your number? Oh, what is it? It's a house in Ottumwa, Iowa. No, my folks won't take it. All right, shut up, okay? Don't do that. You don't know. Their great aunt might live next door, okay? Because you didn't ask that question yet, because why would you? Okay, it's a part of the country you never even heard of, okay? They're a taker. Yes, we would love to see your offer. Please write it up on a mini form so we can remember, and I'm gonna take it to my client. When I get back to him, I'm gonna say, how can we take this house? Not, are you gonna take it? Could you take it? Would you take it? Do you want it? No. How can we take this house? What would they have to do for the rest of the deal to get this deal closed? Sketch that down, set it aside, get the next one. How can we take this deal? When you get through all of them, you're all gonna know which is gonna be the best one, the best set of benefits, because you all went through it. And then you'll have a pecking order of 1 or 2 or 3 as far as what they're gonna work. But don't care what they're takers with. You want a taker, okay? Once we've identified 1 or more potential takers, now we can get to work, okay? It's just preliminary. until that stage. Now we can actually do something. Okay, how can my client be a taker for what is being offered? All right, I won't make Tom answer these because he's got the next thing. Okay, how can the taker take it? What benefits are sought by the taker? Why are they making me this offer? Okay, if it's a person you know needs money and they're pitching at my paper subdivision, you've got a pretty good idea. They're going to make me a mini offer that's going to tell me what they want. Is there a third leg in the room for what is being
I don't think we've discussed mini offers, by the way.
Okay.
Or some people may want to know what that is.
Yeah,
You
you're
need a
right.
long form?
Somebody skipped on that. So I'm going to go over a little bit about the taker numbers and the rest. We also have little pieces of paper, 2 different forms, one a little more detailed than the other, that we write up a little proposal and we send it to the other person. And those, ideally, everybody writes the mini offers. I can tell you right now and apologize, I'm always guilty. I pitch my number out all the time. I very rarely actually write the mini offer. I apologize, that's just the way it is. Bug me, write me a mini offer, or just say, please write me something down so I can take it home with them. But you're supposed to follow up every pitch with a mini offer. Steve?
So there are 2 different forms, a short one and a long one?
Correct, there are 2 forms.
I never really understood when I would use
Okay, a short one and a long one, and when would you use one versus the other? I get lazy and I use the short one because I can
That's
just
what
let it
I've
know.
always
If you do actually want to, and you've got a complicated deal in balanced equities where you have one property that has debt and equity, another property with debt and equity, real good to use the longer form, because then you can at least say, hey, we're off this much in equity, what are we gonna do? You know, how do we work that?
And
So,
don't be afraid to just write up, even if it's crazy.
right.
You know, it's sort of like dating. You know, you first want to have a coffee before you go buy that woman lunch or dinner.
Sometimes the note just says, call me. But then it gives her phone number. Yeah, but that's kind of what it is. So, you had a question, Val?
No, I was just gonna tell, Steve, normally the longer form is in the evening after you've set, after they
Yeah.
presented.
Would you repeat the question for the audience?
Sit down and you discuss and then
So,
you.
what Steve was asking about the difference between the forums and what Val was saying is, yes, generally, and this is the same thing, in the evenings is when you would spend the time probably to write the long form and put a bigger proposal. The mini form, you can just get ripped off during the meeting. And again, back to why I'm bad about writing minis. When I was doing these meetings, the first times I'd get a headache at the end of a long day, and then I'd go to my room and I'd write mini offers till 2 o'clock in the morning. I decided I don't want to do that anymore. I apologize to all of you. So, anyhow, forgive me. Third leg, and that made people think about the mini offer. I won't make people raise their hands here, but I'm sure there are people here who don't know what we refer to when you talk about a third leg, okay? And it's not something inappropriate from the internet. It is the third leg is when you have somebody says, I want your thing with my thing, but you don't want their thing. You need to find somebody who has something that you might take for what they have. Okay, and that's what we call an in lieu clause. Yes, I will accept your property, like Steve's gonna talk about cryptocurrency now. I would say, Steve, of course I will accept all of your cryptocurrency, subject to me finding something in lieu of the cryptocurrency. Okay, because I don't really want the crypto, but I would like to see what it could buy for me. And that's just a vehicle, the crypto, just like cash or a note, is now the vehicle for the exchange, okay? Because I want a third leg, I don't want that. Another really important question to ask people, and it shouldn't necessarily have been in this context here, but in general to your clients when they talk about the benefits sought, is this a need or a want, okay? It's okay if it's a want in some cases if they've got the means. Sometimes people have needs and they try to identify wants, okay? If you have a need, you got a need, okay? You need us to solve that problem. The fact that you want this pretty thing, you don't need it, okay? We need to get you out of the problem. After we get you out of the problem, then we can talk about wanting the pretty thing, okay? Because one thing I say a lot is pretty costs money and ugly makes money, okay? So that's just another thing. Okay, next one. I think we're getting here, Tom, before we take a break. Okay, real quick, marketing session. We each have a number. We each bring packages which identify sets of benefits, and each one of those also has a number. So I'm usually 101 unless one of those Abbotts or Alexanders or one of those other people shows up. I'm just kidding, because my name's Alan. front of the alphabet. So I would say 101, I'll have 1 through 9. 101.5 would mean my 5th package is what I'm interested in your package with. If I just say 101 by itself, I'm interested in it, but I don't know what I'm going to be a taker with. The package is presented, the moderator asks the questions, the presenter answers, and then we take numbers. Okay, first of all, shut up when they're taking numbers, okay? Only talk to the moderator, and people from the audience only talk to the moderator. The moderator is the only one who talks to the person at the podium. We're not very good at following that rule, just say.
We work at it.
Yeah, we'll work on it. But then at the end, the idea is to take numbers and get numbers, the maximum number of numbers for this guy at the podium or gal at the podium that you can possibly get, because that gets them many more things to do. And if you, at the end of the meeting, they will send you a list of all the taker numbers for every package. That is a mine of deals. If you ever have a time, any of you, when you don't have more deals than you can do, you've got a notebook full of more deals than you can ever do. I've gotten to the point where I do not have that circumstance ever happen anymore, where I actually am going to look for a new deal. It's just a matter of what deal can we get to next. And that's, I'd like all of you to be in the same situation, because there's no reason not to. Yes, Spencer. Spencer asked, how do I do that? How do I decide what takes priority and the rest, okay? I wish I had a brilliant answer for you and told you this wonderful system I have. I don't know if you've seen the South Park method. You basically take a chicken, you cut its head off, you throw it out in the thing, and wherever it lands, that's the thing I do. That's, you know, it really is who's called you next.
It's like that with your life.
Right.
You gotta decide on which issue you're gonna
Right.
concentrate.
Like, what are you gonna do a week from Thursday? You know, what are you gonna do a week from Thursday? None of us knows what the hell we're gonna do a week from Thursday unless we got it set on our calendar what we're gonna do a week from Thursday. So that's the problem. You might hit the nail on the head, Spencer. What's hard is to identify how do you prioritize this, and we all have to use the same systems we do. I don't do, you know, client resource management and all these other kind of things that I should do and people do, but yeah, I just, whatever's next. But it could be better. I could use help. Yes, Spencer?
So if you, through the, whatever, 2, 3, 5 years you've been coming here, if you drilled down like all this funnel, or you're like, you know that, look, I'm probably not good at these things, but when these things come up, you know, you're mentally working them.
Could you
So yeah, Spencer's asking
for the Zoom audience?
Yeah, Spencer's asking for, you know, with the years of me doing this and seeing the different funnel of things, are there things I think that are easier? Yes. And what I've discovered is I'm not really capable of handling new clients anymore. I don't have enough time for the number of clients, so I always co-op and partner with somebody else now. One quick kudos I can give Erica, and I just closed a week ago or so a deal in New Mexico with her as a New Mexico licensee from a client. Just split the thing. I'm here to help with the counseling and the rest of it. She does most of the work. Okay, so that's a way to work. So I'll co-op with people. That's usually how I prefer to do it. But as far as organizing, what I do is the old technique my dad has. You write everything down on 3x5 cards, and you put them on yellow pads, and you cross them out. I don't know how else to do it. So, alrighty, next. When the presentation is over, and we'll get this real quick, call for numbers. If you have any interest whatsoever, say your number, okay? That's just interested, without a package. If you think it would work for a particular package, call out that number. Super taker means I'm here, I'm ready to do the deal, I can sign a contract. If someone says they're a super taker, that's the person you probably want to talk to because they probably really want it. And although then you'll get us all competing with super takers if there's a good package, but that's another thing. So what is a third leg? I think we talked about that. A third leg means a property, if somebody offers you something, it's a two-way exchange. It's not satisfactory to either of you or to one of the other parties. We need another property. Sometimes we can make a three-way deal. A lot of times paper balances it, okay? And we'll give you some examples, hopefully from our examples. How does this work? What I found statistically, if you take any transaction has less than 100% chance of closing. If you just artificially try to take numbers and say, he's a taker, he's a taker, he's a taker for this, and you go around in a circle, you're multiplying a bunch of numbers less than 1 times each other. It's not going to have much chance of success. But if you have a deal that will not happen without a third leg, bringing the third leg in now statistically shoots the chance of it closing up through the roof, okay? So a lot of times paper or cash. So sometimes you might have a deal and Tom is gonna show you a sort of a third leg deal when we talk about it. Sometimes the problem's financial, and a guy like Tom Van Erp can come in and say, hey, how about I just buy that note at a part of the deal? It'll solve the problem. We'll give you some examples of that work. In lieu clause, when you get a contract, you go ahead and sign the contract. You sign a binding contract. I'm gonna accept your property subject to finding something else in lieu of what you are offering, okay? And you can have a time frame in there or not, okay? Who is this to manage it? To manage your client, the seller. They've got to take it for their property. And now they've got a wide open time to wait and find what they want, okay? So both sides are gonna push and restrict this a little. But bottom line is, you're offering me something I don't want. Let me see if I can, so I have an example. I've got a campground that we're gonna have create paper here real soon. The person's offering money down and a big seller carry. My guy wants to do a 1031. This is what 1031 paper is basically. So we're gonna sign a contract that says we will accept your seller carry financing subject to finding something else in lieu of the seller carry financing. We're gonna go take that first note on a KOA campground and I'm gonna go buy something with it, okay? Now, all of you here might not know how to run a KOA campground, but every one of you knows how to go to the mailbox and pick up a check, okay? You can we can turn that into just mailbox checks for somebody and have the person who operates the KOA, wants to buy it, wants to operate it, come in there, and then my client can take that financial instrument and go get what he wants, okay? And so any seller carry deal, if your people don't want to sell or carry, you do a seller carry in lieu deal. If it doesn't happen, you don't find something in lieu, guess what? I couldn't find anything in lieu. We can't close because we can't find anything in lieu, okay? So that protects people a lot of ways. Does it really work? I can give you examples. Yes, it works. And how can the numbers help me track third legs? Okay, so when you go and somebody with package 125.3 offered you on 101 something, and you go and you look at 125.3 and I don't want it, I don't like it, but goodness, it's got 12 numbers. 12 people said they'd take that property. I'm gonna talk to every one of those 12 people if I'm not as lazy as I am. I'm gonna go talk to those 12 people and say which one of them, what do they got? And see if I want any of those, okay? And that's how the numbers help you find third legs. Another thing we call skidding your rig, or skidding someone's rig, okay? That's a Texas term for oil rigs. If somebody has a package that looks darn near exactly like one that you've got, and especially if it's one that's down your list and you're not gonna have time to present, you're gonna take their numbers and you're gonna write them on your package, okay? Because if it's a duplex in Tucson, and you've got a duplex in Tucson, I'm gonna take every number from that guy's duplex in Tucson, and I'm gonna call him up and say, guess what I got? I got a duplex in Tucson for you, okay? And that's skidding your rig, there's nothing wrong with it. You're just going out there on behalf of your